Have you ever seen a statistic that just makes you stop and go, wait, that can't be right? Well, today, we're going to tackle one of those head-on. It's a supposed 40-to-1 wealth gap between two of the world's biggest economies. It's a number that just doesn't feel right, and we're about to find out exactly why.
So let's just get right to it. Is the average person in the US really 40 times richer than the average person in China? I mean, on the surface, that's what some of the numbers seem to say. But as you're about to find out, when it comes to understanding the global economy, the simple math can be, well, incredibly misleading.
Okay, so here's where we get that wild 40-to-1 number. You look at the GDP per person in the US and it's sitting around $40,000. Then you take China's GDP, do the standard currency conversion with the market exchange rate, and you get what looks like a tiny $1,000. The difference is just enormous. But is it real?
Now, how do we get there? The math itself seems super simple, right? You start with China's GDP per person. Let's just say it's 10,000 yuan to keep it easy. The market exchange rate is, say, 10 yuan for every $1. So you just divide 10,000 by 10 and you land on $1,000. It's a clean, neat calculation, but it's hiding a huge, reality-bending flaw.
Okay, so on the surface, that looks straightforward. But what if I told you that whole calculation is built on a massive, huge flaw, that it creates a picture of the world that's completely distorted? It all boils down to answering one simple, common-sense question.
And this is the big one. Does $1,000 in the US buy you the same amount of stuff as 10,000 yuan does in China? You know, think about your own life. Rent, food, getting a haircut, a bus ride. The answer is obviously no, not even close. And that one little fact, that one bit of common sense changes absolutely everything.
You see, this is the heart of the issue. Market exchange rates, they're really for big-time international trade and finance, for banks moving giant piles of money around the globe. They were never ever meant to compare what it's actually like to live in a country, because they totally ignore the most important factor, the local cost of living. And that brings us to this really key idea called purchasing power. It's not about the number on your paycheck, it's about what that money actually gets you. It's the real, on-the-ground power of your cash. It's about what you can actually put in your shopping cart.
So let's play a little what-if game. What if we discovered that 10,000 yuan in China buys the exact same stuff, the same groceries, the same kind of apartment, the same transportation, as $10,000 in the US? If what you could buy with the money was the same, how would that change how we see things?
Well, guess what? That little what-if game is actually the entire idea behind a super powerful economic tool. It's called Purchasing Power Parity, or PPP for short. Instead of using those financial market exchange rates, PPP creates a new, more realistic rate based on what things actually cost. It's basically a reality check for global economics.
All right, so let's put these two side by side. On the one hand, you've got that market rate we first used. $1 gets you 10 yuan. But in our thought experiment, our PPP world where the cost of living is equalized, the rate becomes $1 for 1 yuan. The purchasing power is identical. Now let's see what happens when we plug that new number back into our math.
So let's run the numbers again. We start with the exact same 10,000 yuan. But this time, and this is the key, we use our new PPP rate of 1-to-1. We just divide 10,000 by 1, and boom, all of a sudden China's GDP per person isn't $1,000 anymore, it's $10,000.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. Just look at this chart. See that tiny little bar representing the market rate number? Now, look at that much, much bigger bar for the PPP adjusted number. It's a 10 times difference. This gives us a way more realistic picture of the economic reality on the ground.
I mean, this table just lays it out perfectly. That crazy, misleading 40-to-1 gap we started with, it shrinks all the way down to a much more believable 4-to-1 gap when we use PPP. We haven't changed any of the underlying facts. We've just used a better, more accurate ruler to measure them.
So, okay, why does all this matter? Why should you care? Well, because PPP gets us much closer to understanding people's actual real-life experiences. It's built on the simple truth that your money goes a lot further in a place where things are cheaper. It lets us compare true living standards and the real domestic power of an economy in a way those market rates just can't.
So, from now on, whenever you see a headline or a chart comparing how rich different countries are, you'll know to ask the smart question. Which number are they using?
Is it the simple market rate that's good for Wall Street traders, or is it the PPP-adjusted figure that tells you about real life? Because now you know the difference, and that completely changes how you see the world economy.